production track at FIEA is sort of an umbrella term. Producer means different things, different job roles at different companies, and we categorize them all under one big umbrella. For us, we break it into three main categories, which is project management, level design, and tech design. There's lots of nuances out in the industry. For us, those are sufficient granularity. The project management is actually learning how to communicate with people, how to organize, how to become more efficient, how to present the progress of the project to other people, process analysis, things like that. It is definitely a personality thing. One thing to understand, people get all worried that, oh my God, I wasn't a computer programmer, can I get into video game development? Your background can be a lot of things, and it applies. Your background could be business, it could be law, it could be psychology, it could be a lot of things, and depending on your personality, if you're that decisive person who's a good communicator, who has an organized brain, you can bring those disparate backgrounds to bear, especially in project management. If you are more of the aesthetic type, and that could encompass lots of things. That could be cinematography, that could be architecture, that could be, you could be an artist. A lot of those types are really good at level design. Level design is kind of a cross between technology and aesthetics. You have to be able to tell a story visually in a 3D environment, and you got to do it efficiently. We've especially had good luck with people with architecture backgrounds because they seem to understand sort of that macro building stuff. But just as easily, you could have a background in cinematography, in writing, fiction, things like that. And then the third main category is the tech designer, which for us means these are the people who are between a programmer and a designer of features. They're sort of both. It's a tech designer, so tech kind of speaks for itself and designer speaks for itself. You are a creator of features. So not necessarily the big picture design of the game. It's more like you'll take charge of individual features, like the magic combat mechanic. Your job would be to design that, so you have to have a certain amount of creative thinking, and then implement that, whether you're working in Unity, so it would be in C#, or in UE4 or UE5, where it might be blueprints. So your job is to be able to visualize certain subsets of features, understand how you want them to work, design that out, and then go and implement that. It's not the same as programming. You know, programming tends to get into a lot of the lower level, high performance things, graphics and AI and things like that. But it's next level up. It's usually working in a scripting language. As I said, Unity has C# and UE4 has blueprints. Those are the two most common. So that's kind of what a tech designer is. So those are the three main sort of categories of producers we have at FIEA. We tend to recommend, it's not a requirement, but recommend that you come into FIEA with some idea of which of those three you want to be. So that's the big picture with the production track. A big focus that we have as far as that goes is we try to make everything as real world as possible. So it's not just a bunch of theory and homework. We stick you on real projects with real teams that will have real problems, and that's the kind of experience that's totally invaluable. So when you come to FIEA, try to have an idea of what it is you want to be, and if you've got an idea of that now, you can watch some of the subsequent videos and narrow in kind of what you want to focus on for which assignment you want to do, and get a better idea of what that individual track entails.
The FIEA curriculum for our producers specifically, what are they taking? You start off in the fall, you have a cohort-wide class with everyone, all track specializations, which is our rapid prototype production course. Everybody takes that and you divide into small teams, you make prototypes, you'll end up making 5 different games over the course of the semester, and it's learning the process of game production from cradle to grave and working with a lot of different people and trying to learn how to work well with other people. There's actually a separate improv lab that we do with that as well, because a lot of companies do improv for learning how to be a good teammate with others. Pixar does it, lots of other graduate programs do that. So we do that as well. Then you have a game production 101 kind of course. course, where you're learning the ins and outs of the industry itself and how do AAA games work versus indie, what are mobile platforms like. And then beyond that, you have your actual track specializations, right? So we have in the production track, there are 3. So you have level design, tech design, and project management. So each of our students in those individual track specializations has a dedicated elective. And they also take a game design course as well in the fall. That's a lot. Moving to the spring, we have another cohort-wide course. All of the students at FIEA take a course that's called the Capstone. And this is a big course because you finally have the chance to work with a larger team, 18-ish people, on a longer-term project, 6.5 months. And these projects often move beyond just a student assignment and become releasable Steam games of some value, which is not that common for graduate programs to produce. But that's what we're trying to do, is have our students be capable of creating great games that the world should see. And so that's what the Capstone course is all about. There's also our Game Lab course, which teaches about games in research fields, educational games, simulation, helps to broaden our students' understanding of what the industry is and how they may be able to find different roles in the industry. And then once again, you'll have an elective. So for our producers, that would be Level Design 2, Tech Design 2, or Project Management 2. Finally, in the summer semester, we have the continuation of the Capstone course, because it's 6.5 months long. You keep working on that big game. And then you have your third installment of your elective, Level Design 3, Tech Design 3, and Project Management 3. Now at that point, you may go off on an internship or even start a full-time job in your 4th and final semester and have that be counted as an internship in the industry. Or if you want to stay and continue your studies, you can do the Venture Lab class, which allows you to learn how to start a company or start your own indie project right here at school. Why wait? Let's go. And so a lot of our students like to take advantage of that 4th and final semester to start their own dream pet project. The specializations within our production track at FIEA, there are 3. One is level design, which most people understand pretty well. Another is tech design, which I will explain. And then the third is project management. Now, some people wonder why we don't also have game design. We do have game design as a key topic in multiple courses across the curriculum. We don't have that as a specific specialization because we find that it's harder for our students to get entry-level jobs as game designers. They often succeed better when they have other specialized skills in addition to game design, which we also teach all of our producers. So, how do we go into more detail on each of those? Well, with level design, you're primarily working in Unreal, which is the most popular engine for level designers, and you're doing layout with geometry, but also doing white boxing, gray boxing, prototypes in levels. And then you're trying to figure out what your encounters and your mechanics would be in a given game and designing spaces, environments, in order to be able to make those mechanics shine. For our project managers, they're leading teams. They're figuring out what the schedule would be, trying to organize everyone's tasks, who should do what and when and how and where and why. But the biggest thing that they often spend their time on is also managing the people on a project. People are the hardest thing to manage. So oftentimes project managers will learn a lot about what it takes to help team members to be able to work well with each other. And then finally, tech design is a little bit more confusing to people, but it is what it sounds like. You are a game designer in all that entails, but you combine that skill with the ability to program and exhibit other technical skills like AI. So that means that our tech designers end up being masters of gameplay. They're really able to not only come up with the innovative mechanics for a game, but implement those mechanics via prototypes or directly there in engine using their programming abilities. So what does it take to succeed as a producer at FIEA? Well, an obvious element of that would be developing your specialized skills, be that level designer, tech designer, project manager, or a game designer in general. That's obviously important, and a lot of work in engine and with different programming technologies is imperative for that. That's kind of obvious though. The less obvious answer would be proactivity. You are not someone who just kind of sits back and waits for everybody to tell you what needs to be done and when and how and why. You are the one who's out there grabbing other team members and figuring out problems, and hey, we need to do this, and this is going to be late, and if we don't do this now, this other thing won't be able to be built in time. You are taking control. That is what a powerful producer does, whatever their specialization would be. And of course, that involves a lot of hard work and a lot of time and effort. It's why the job of being a game developer is very challenging, but of course, that means it ends up being very rewarding and fulfilling as a career. Anybody that enjoys playing games, you have to imagine that it's even more fun to be able to create those experiences for others.